let's go through advanced layers and shapes assignments, and I'm gonna be creating all of the solutions for you in this video. Besides the final module assignment, that one is kind of a separate video, so it's gonna be right after this one. Okay, so first things first, as you can see, layers and shapes, we're going to be talking about a lot of things that are happening here in the left sidebar. So one thing that I do often is basically hide my interface by using command dot on Mac. You can always find the alternative if you're using Windows machines in the shortcuts PDF that we provided. And I can hide the entire interface and just put focus on the canvas. It helps a lot when I'm trying to figure out if there's something that needs changing, for example, and it helps me focus on design and not on all of the other clutter on the screen that happens when you're using Figma. And the other useful thing that's connected to this assignment is basically learning how to show and hide the pages. So as you can see, this file has a massive amount of pages that you're going to be working with. So to do that correctly, you always have the ability to go in here and kind of hide all of the pages if you're just focusing on one page, and it puts entire focus on the layers of the page that you're working with. You can always go back in here and kind of turn it on and look at all of the pages. You can also grab this and make the viewport for the pages a little bit bigger and smaller to put more or less focus on the layers inside, and you also have the ability to scroll through things in here. So yeah, that's the first assignment, a really simple one, but one that beginners and intermediate Figma users often overlook and don't use enough to kind of make the view of Figma work more for them. Okay, let's now go to a couple of these other assignments. One of them is, well, two of them are connected to learning how to use groups. So I often use groups to quickly grab some items that I want to keep together and to move them around the screen, but there's also other ways that you can use groups. As you learned in this module, more or less you're going to be working either with just layers and frames, then you're going to be working with groups. Groups are a lot more useful in some other tools like Sketch or Adobe tools because there is no concept of frames in them. So one thing that we need to do in here after we read through the assignment is the idea that you need to know how to group things quickly. So you can easily select a couple of layers just by dragging things around. You can always select them by going to the layers list as well. So for example, in here, and I'm holding command to select all of the items, and then I can just group them by using command G on Mac, or in Windows, it would be control G. So yeah, now we have a group. And here, we need to learn how to ungroup the items. So as you can see in your workspace, you already have all of these items grouped. And now let's just use Command Shift G to ungroup it. And yeah, all of the layers are their own dedicated layers without being in a group anymore. Awesome. Now let's try to do the same thing with frames. So if you select all of the layers by using Command, Option, and G, you can turn it immediately into a group. One other way to do it, you can create a group by using the shortcut that we just learned in the previous assignment, and then go in here and make it a frame. You can always ungroup things, but that's going to be more connected to the task below. So in here, we have a frame, and let's resize the frame like this. You can see that unlike a group, the size of the frame is editable. It doesn't depend on the items that you have inside. And you can do that like this, and then use the option to resize to fit to reset the frame so that it kind of takes into account all of the elements inside. One important thing that you can also do is to ungroup a frame. So like this, I'm gonna use Command Shift G to turn all of these items from a frame into its own layers. So it works the same as it would if this was just a group. The same shortcut can be applied. Okay, so let's see what we need to do in this assignment. We need to set the constraints for the elements contained within this frame so that they respond like this. So let's analyze it. You can see that the green circle stays on the top left. So let's just see, left and top, perfect. I think this square in the middle that's gray, it kind of stays in the middle of the frame. So I'm actually going to do this center. You can always click on the drop downs as well to find these options. And then finally, the three red shapes that we have in here are sticking to the bottom right of the frame. So I'm going to select all of them by holding Shift. And then I'm going to move in here to right bottom. Now, if I take this frame and resize it, you can see that the constraints are working as they're supposed to, and all of the layers are staying in place as we were instructed to do. Perfect. Finally, let's see what we need to do in here. We need to hide the bounds of the oval shape that casts a large shadow, so that the shadow and this part of the oval shape is not sticking out. To do so, I just need to click on a frame and I need to turn on the clip content option like this. And now you have the visual just as shown in the reference frame. So clipping content clips shadows as well, not just shapes that you have in your frame. Okay. Perfect. Let's now go to the lesson about introducing order into your frames. So in here we can see that there is a lot of items. They don't have correct spacing between them. It's like all over the place. So let's tidy that up. Like this. Pretty simple. So you can just use the tidy up feature. If you want to learn the shortcut, you can do so. In here, there's always a shortcut hint everywhere where you use some kind of feature, even if it's in menus like this where you right click on something, or if you're moving around other areas of Figma, even in the menus like this, you're gonna see shortcuts appear. So perfect, we did tidy up these layers. Let's see what we need to do now. We need to use the smart selection feature to recreate the reference. So let's first rearrange the layers in correct order. Let's see, the red one needs to go on top, then the orange one, then the green one, cyan one, and the purple one is on the bottom. Perfect, but it still doesn't look the same. Let's see what we else need to do. We need to resize the height of the layers by having them all selected. Okay, so the height is in here. Let's make it a little bit bigger like this. Perfect. And then finally, we need to increase the spacing between the layers. We can do so either by dragging this, or we can go to the right panel in here and change the spacing. Maybe it's even bigger than that, something like this. And now I use the group to basically center it and ungroup the position all of the layers without them being in a group. I think it's somewhere in here. It doesn't have to be like the correct spacing, but overall, I'd consider this assignment done. When it comes to the assignments in the manipulate shapes lesson, or like section of the assignments, first one is connected to playing the Bezier game. And now I'm not gonna do that just because it's gonna take a while. But if you're still not feeling comfortable with using the pen tool or your mouse to kind of draw elements, I think one of the best things that you can do is do this and kind of spend at least like half an hour practicing and kind of drawing the shapes and following the lines. It's an amazing way to learn the Bezier curves. In this assignment, we need to recreate this. So I'm going to move in here. I'm going to color pick this color. Okay, so we have that red shape. Let's duplicate the circle layer and oh, first we need to create the pie chart looking thing. Okay, let's do it by maybe making something like this, it seems. Okay, perfect. I'll just put this at 90. You can always control these things in here as well. And let's make this wider like this. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but this should be fine. And then we need to make it a little bit bigger because this is going to become a green shape now. So I duplicated the first oval shape that we used. You can still see that it's inside. I changed the opacity by hitting the number 5 on my keyboard to set it to 50%. And now I'm gonna rework this by placing it in here and then changing this one into a smaller shape. So yeah, it probably makes more sense if I place it in here, sorry. Okay, so let's do that at 1, or was it -1? -1, okay. And in here, let's make it go to 10%. Yeah, again, like I didn't use the correct, this green shape should be a little bit bigger, but that's easy to do. So like you can just go in here and make the green one a little bit bigger, and then go in here and make the red one a little bit smaller. So overall, nothing too hard about this. Okay, let's move on to the next assignment. This one is about creating all of the shapes in here by doing nothing else but manipulating the vectors by going into the edit mode, adding and removing some points, and then maybe also using border radius to create some of this effect. So perfect. Let's take the first one. I think it's basically the same thing. This one has a border radius, so maybe something like 20 or 30. Yeah, looks good. This one, I feel like I lost point in here. I'm holding shift to remove it so that the shape in here doesn't disappear. So if you can see me in here right now in edit mode, if I tap on this if I tap on this dot and just hit backspace to delete it, it basically kind of deletes everything besides the lines, and I don't want that to happen. I still want the fill to stay available in here, so I did it by doing that. Or honestly, this might be done a different way. This might be done through going in here and picking the right edge, this one, and just making it something completely big like this. Yeah, okay, perfect. I think this is the same thing, but it's just a different edge that we're worried about, and I think it's probably going to be this one. Okay, this one is using the top two ones, and yes, that's perfect. This one is introducing a new dot in here. So as you can see, as soon as I enter the edit mode, I can go in here in all of these lines, and there's gonna be a dot that appears. I just press it and then take the shape a little bit further down like this. Okay, in here I'm gonna do the same thing but from both edges, so like this, and you can even go inside, pick those two and kind of move them together. But since I'm moving them in different direction, that's not gonna work for me. And yes, we have like a little bow tie shape. In here we're having this shape manipulated. As you can see, I'm using the shift to move the shape a lot faster than I would otherwise, and it's moving by 8 pixels in the direction that I'm hitting the arrow key with. So I'm holding shift, hitting the arrow key to move it 8 pixels to the right, and then 8 pixels down, and then to the right, and then down, and so on, to keep this like completely aligned with the dot from where it originated. You can also do it manually, like by just dragging it somewhere, but you're not gonna have that perfect result. Okay, in here I think we're having this one moved in here and this one moved in here. It seems a little bit wider, so I'm guessing maybe like 2, and this one 2 times in here. So yeah, more like it now. In here, what do we have in here? it feels like it's not the perfect shape like this one. It feels a little bit different. So I'm guessing that we need to actually take this and kind of move it around in here, and then maybe adding a rotation to it like this, border radius, sorry. And here we have this shape. I'm gonna move it down a little bit and move this one up a little bit. And I also feel like this one is going inside a bit and this one is going inside a bit like this. Not 100% perfect. I feel like it's a little bit bigger, so probably like taking this dot and moving it like one place and all of these. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Finally, let's draw a home-like shape. I'm gonna create two arrows in here. I'm gonna delete this one and I'm gonna delete this one. So to repeat, I basically entered the edit mode like this, just hit enter. I added a dot, I added another dot and another dot. I pressed on this one, holding shift to remove it, hold shift to remove it, and now we have it. Okay, and let's close off this set of assignments by going in here, selecting these two shapes, and I think they're gonna have a union. Now, one thing about union, you can still enter inside and go to each shape. I think this one has some kind of a border radius like this. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller. And this one seems like this part has a bigger border radius than any of them. So one thing that you might notice, if I enter in here and go, I can still change the border radius just for this one particular dot. But it also then, if I do that, removes the ability to control each dot in here. So just keep that in mind. If sometimes you're unable to access these border radius settings from here, that means that maybe in the edit mode, you've changed just one of them and now it's not connected to this anymore. So in here, I think I'm just gonna make it big like this. And I think I'm gonna make all of the other ones rounded like the original shape was. Okay, now here's an interesting thing. It also seems like this shape has a border radius on itself, not on the shapes inside. So I think I'm just gonna make this 20 like this, and perfect. Now, if I go inside and take one of the shapes, you can see how it basically plays with the curves. So that's exactly what we wanted. And we have this shape complete. In here, I think this one was made a little bit more rounded like this, and I think now if we do this, we need to subtract the shape. The only problem is the order of these layers. The rectangle is on top, so I'm gonna push it to the bottom so that this one is on top, and now if we use the subtract, it's actually gonna subtract the circle. That's really important when you're using these Boolean operations like union, subtract, intersect, and exclude. You really need to think about the order of elements that are in here. And then finally, I'm going to use the subtract option in here and add some roundness to it to create more of that shape like in here. Okay, this one is pretty easy. I think it's basically just intersect, and maybe this intersect has some kind of a roundness to it. And then this one is more about the exclude option. With this shape, if you use command, you can enter inside and kind of just focus on one without doing it manually here on the layers list. I think this one has this at a bigger rate, and then all of the shapes in here maybe have something like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, perfect. We completed the assignments in this, and then we're gonna move on to the masking now, which is gonna be the last part of this video. So thank you for following along. Hopefully you didn't have worry and have too many problems with this assignment, but again, if you did, no problem. That's why we're here, we're learning, and that's why you have access to all of the recorded solutions, so that if you're struggling with something, you can kind of easily find it and go through it. So one thing that we have in here is we need to recreate the reference visual in here by creating a mask, and we also need to think about the order of layers. Again, order of layers is really important, especially with some of these items like Boolean operations and masking, because that depends on like what's included in the mask and what's not. Okay, let's see what we need to do in here. You should not move your shapes within the within your workspace. You should only reorder them on the layer list. So my guess is this star is going to be on top and it's not going to be included in the mask, while all of the other elements are going to be included in the mask. And I feel like the shape of this polygon is probably going to be our mask. So I'm going to move it below one layer, and I'm also going to turn it into a mask. Okay, so we got it correctly. As you can see, I created a group because I knew that the star wasn't included in the masking. If it was inside a group, it would be masked like this. So that's why it's outside. And I also have the polygon shape as the bottom one because that's the one that's creating this mask. For the final part of this video, let's try to create this visual from the reference frame in your workspace. So if you followed along the masking lesson in detail, I'm sure that you won't have a lot of problems with it, but in case you stumbled upon a few hiccups, here's the solution for it. So let's analyze the task. Recreate the visual from the reference frame by using masking as a true professional. To complete this assignment, you will need to create two masks. First one will be the pre-made rectangle shape, so this one, with a linear fill for the fade effect. So we want to achieve these. Okay, so to do that, first thing that I want to do is just grab this and make it something like really big like this. I need to push it to the bottom, and then I need to group these items, and then I need to make this a mask. So as you know, there's different ways to do a mask. By right-clicking, by using a shortcut and all of those things. So now we have the first part covered. Let's duplicate this layer of the image that we have in here. I'm just going to make it a little bit transparent in here so that it's easier to work with it. And then we need to create the second mask by duplicating the photo and drawing a masking shape. Okay, so to do that, I need to go in here into the pen tool, or honestly, you can also remove a background or something to create this, but to really solve this task, I do suggest using something like a pen tool to kind of practice using it a little bit more. And as you can see, like if I press on something and then edit it, it still edits it without kind of completing that shape. So that part is ready, and then the second part is connected to the shoes in here. So yeah, let's try to cover the shape of her sneakers. Amazing, like this. It doesn't have to be like fully perfect. If you want to practice some more, I do suggest like spending more time than I did to making this shape. I want to remove the stroke. I need to make a fill because the mask is only going to work with a fill. I need to grab these two items. I need to turn them into a mask. And now we have this ready. I can now make this image a little bit more noticeable. And then the final thing that is missing for me is going in here and ensuring that this has a linear fill like this, and that the mask is happening like this. I do want to make it go from here so that we don't have this weird effect because of the mask that I used on top. So it's gonna be something like this. And yeah, I think it's almost like one by one comparison of the same thing. So I'd consider this task successfully completed.